want to tell you a story about a young man by the name of Tony. Very charismatic, lovable. He would give you literally the shirt off his back if he had to. He was very athletic in sports, ran track, played football, running back and receiver, and he also played baseball, shortstop. And if he had played his cards right, he could have been maybe playing in the major leagues. But Tony had one problem that he was dealing with for years. At the age of 13, he was dressing in women's clothes. Started off with his mother's clothes. Every chance he had from school, he would go home and change. When his parents were gone to work, he kept track when they were going to get home so he could change back. And this went on for a while, and he was very depressed. And also the fact that he eventually ended up going to see a psychiatrist. And because of his depression, the doctor put him on medication. For several years, Tony had to do this. He was telling his story to his doctor and everything like this, and wasn't really getting anywhere. But eventually, he was able to wean himself off of the medication. So, once he did, he ended up getting off, and he met a good friend who took him to a conference called the Philadelphia Trans Health Conference. And at that conference, he met other kids that were 5, 6, 7 years old, and their parents were supporting them. And he ended up going to work sessions, and at the work sessions, he basically heard other stories of other transgender people who were transgender and how they successfully transitioned over full-time. Tony had enough clothes that could literally, over the years, fill half of the stage. Getting them, throwing them away, getting them, throwing them away, and this went on for years. And one night, Tony went to a cliff and threw all of Karen's clothes off of the cliff. So after that conference, he went back to work with such passion, talked to a coworker, and the coworker said, "Let me talk to the director of Civil Rights and Inclusiveness." And in that conference meeting with the director, told the story about what was going on, and the director was in tears. So Tony said, "Okay, I'll go ahead and talk to her." Got the same reaction. The director said, "I'm going to go ahead and talk to the CEO of the agency and find out exactly what we need to do." And the CEO said, "Do whatever we can to make this happen." So Tony had to put this on hold for 3 months. And that time came in 3 months where just had to really keep it a big secret. And it was really hard for him to do. Especially the fact that he was having to deal with a situation where he was very religious, an altar boy and everything else. But he was able to get through it with the help of other people and his friends. So, come time, he went home, called his brother. His brother said, give him time to adjust. Talked to his father. His father said, "Who am I to judge?" His father said, "I've got one question to ask you." And Tony said, "What's that? Are you going to keep your last name?" And he said, "Yes." And his father said, "Okay," like it was no big deal. Then he talked to his mother in person because he knew that was going to be a challenge. Had his cousins with him and everything to break the news. In one particular situation, when Tony got to the point that he was going to tell what his name was going to be, he told his mother that his name was going to be Karen. Karen was told about this to his mother. His mother said if she was carrying a girl, when she had a girl, she was going to name it Karen. And that's me. I just totally lost it that day. because I knew that's who I really was inside. So I go back to work on October 1st, 53 years, at the age of 53, 40 years later, and was told to my boss and everything on October 1st of 2010. The agency at that point was told everybody had to be at a mandatory meeting. Everybody figured out they were all going to get fired. But little did they know, they weren't. It was about me. And it was no big deal. So they didn't have the next day, they had a big conference in the conference room, and everybody got to hear a professional trainer who was transgender tell them my story and everything. At this point, we know Tony and Karen are two spirits joined together as one. And then we got to figure out a lot of things that people got to hear about me. There's been some challenges in my life since I've transitioned. At work, people were saying, oh, Karen looks like she's dressed to go to a party or a nightclub. And I'm like, really? I've never dressed like that. I talked to a girlfriend of mine and she said, welcome to the catty world. I'm like, really? This is what I got to deal with now? So anyway, the other challenges I've had, it used to take me 5 minutes to wash my hair. Now it takes 45 minutes to an hour. Oh, and don't go to the hairdresser, it's 4 to 5 hours. Buttons on the blouses are on the other side. Zippers on the pants are on the other side. And my biggest thing lately, 2 weeks ago when I was on a military assignment, out in the woods, had to take a pee. And that's the worst thing they have to do for any woman to do, is take a pee in the woods. But I got that all planned out for the next time. These are the awards that Tony received from 1988 to 2006. Focus on 2003, the Willis Green Community Service Award. Tony received that. Here are the awards that Karen has received from 2010 to the present. Notice in 2014, the Willis Green Community Service Award. People said, didn't you get that award before? I said, no, I never did. Tony did. So those are some of the issues. Not only that, but I've received numerous awards since I've transitioned. And here are my proudest ones. I received, without the general there, NCO Soldier of the Year by the Maryland Defense Force. And the other one by the State Guard Association of the United States Soldier of the Year of the country. And I am. And mind you, these are all professional awards that I received on my own merit, not because I'm transgender. A lot of the women at Soldier Women didn't even know I was transgender. They just came up and said, hey, thank you for doing this for us. Thank you. I'm this big pebble that was thrown into the ocean. And in there, I've caused a big wave. But me telling my story to each and every one of you, I want you to go out there and tell more people so that wave just keeps going further and further. I am a storybook, and inside that book is my life. On the outside of the cover is Tony, which now is Karen. Just because the cover's changed, the story still remains the same. I have a saying, and I've always lived by it: shoot for the moon, and even if you miss, you'll be among the stars. Thank you.